you can see, ideally, as you can see, user, we are able to register a user from within our Angular application, right? So if where is our browser? Browser कहाँ गायब हो गया भैया? Here it is. So ideally, when I'm attempting to register as a user, let's say shop owner. So let's say Ashok J, right? So and he ashok.j@gmail.com is what I have. Click on submit. So yeah, Ashok J is added as a user via a step point, right? So we have it. Okay. So now with this thing done, maybe I can also work with the scenario wherein it won't take more than 2 minutes or so, wherein what happens is uh, the submit form is disabled until all the values are input, right? So here I will need to do the registration. I will need to show the validation message as well, but just in case, hold on. So let's say first name, last name, and gender are mandatory, and if I do not punch in the value, then the submit form is disabled. So I can check that in the registration component .html file, right? I have this HTML file, and here for the submit form button, I can say I can keep track of the disabled attribute. With what? What's the name of the form? Registered user form dot valid. If you remember from our discussion of the template driven form, this is the way we are going to do it, right? So ideally, I will need to, maybe I can call this is also required. I can set everything as required, right? I will use the self boolean attribute which is called required, so that form will not pass, form will not be the invalid status, form will not be invalid status until unless all values are inserted. Make sense? So if you go and take a look now, oh sorry, it is still, oh, it's compiling. Yeah, you can see I'm not able to submit. Can you see? I'm not able to submit. So until unless all the values are inserted, the submit will not be enabled, right? Oh, sorry. Gender is, let's say, he. The email is, let's say, pd@gmail.com. If I remove this, you can see submit is again disabled. So until unless all values are not coming. So ideally, I need to display a message over here as as I punch in the values that this is mandatory. So submit will be enabled only when everything is inserted. So if I remove anything, submit will get disabled. I will not be able to click on submit, right? So, but I need to display the message also. So let us do that thing, because that is again a CSS part. Let us do some CSS part later on only. As of now, let's focus on the functionality. If I click on this, so value should be inserted in the REST API. Here it is, right? So let us now work with the scenario wherein we implement a form for the new shop, right? So just in little less than an hour, we are able to implement a complete form. So if I sit for next 15-20 minutes, I will also implement the required validation and display of all the messages so as to input a valid value, right, and all that stuff. So in an hour, if you are able to implement a form, what more is required from the enterprise use case perspective? It's a very less turnaround time, right? And that too of the quality. Okay, anyways, so ideally, if I also consider the time required to implement this user interface, UI, UX design, let's add 1 more hour. So 2 hours, may you have one form, completely functional form, right? Anyways, so um, let's go back to the add new shop page. And here I would want to implement a form for the add new shop, right? So form for the add new shop. So it is a new shop component, right? So hold on. So I should be having a component for the same. So add new shop component, right? Here it is. And here it is. What we have is add new shop works. So here I can say I will have one H1 and add. I'm just adding it for reference. I will be removing it in next few minutes. New shop. Just to cross check that everything is working fine. Hmm. Everything is just working fine. So here I would want to add a new shop. So let me first bring it in between, right? So the way here it is, right? The footer is here. So in the same way, I would want to have forms aligned to this footer, right? So for that, what I will do, I will set up a div, and for this div, I will give a class of container. Now, what is this container? Container works because I am using Bootstrap 4. So what it will do, it will create a container on the page. Right? Can you see? Hold on, it's a div. What I can do is I can bring this h1 inside, so that you will see that h1 starts at certain place. Got it? So here we have it over here, right? So and ideally I can go and remove this guy. I do not need it. Okay. As a part of starting part of the form, I would need to make some declarations, right? So maybe I will go to the getbootstrap.com or take the form, or maybe kind of go ahead and what you call, go to the documentation, and inside components I want to have some kind of message displayed, right? So let me use the jumbotron to display the message. So I will use this fluid jumbotron, right? This one. I don't want to use this, but just this. So I will copy this and paste it over here. So what is it? Let us say this fluid jumbotron will be replaced by add new shop. Ideally, this add new shop form will be displayed only to the user who are registered as a shop owners, right? Not to others. But that is something we are doing later on, not now. And add the new shop so that to get new business leads. Add new shop to get, add your shop to receive new business leads, right? That's what our message is. So I can go back and take a look over here, right? Add your shop to receive new business leads. Oh, your customer is an business with us for free at your shop. Now receive new business leads. Make sense? And I can simply kind of go and remove this from here. Yeah, so down there I can implement a form. Down there I have implemented a form. So we already have this. Do I have any form up here? I just have the form field examples, right? So I can implement the address with the help of this. So ideally, I can take all these form fields as such, right? And so ideally, what are the fields I will be needing to add a new shop? So I will be needing a shop name, shop number. That is ideally all this shop address will come, right? And I will be needing what you call services, right? And what else? So down there, I can go and implement a form wherein I would be implementing a shop, right? So I can have a form. So I do not need any kind of action over here. So I can say it is a new shop form, new shop, right? Is of type what? ng form. Makes sense? And whenever the ng submit event will be fired, at that time I would want to call the function add new shop, and to that send this new shop dot value, right? So ideally that is my code. So ideally I should be having this add new shop inside my ts file, right? So hold on, is a function. Makes sense? And what is the name of my shop? New shop. So I can declare it over here of type any. Okay, so let's kind of go and set up the form fields now, right? So for the form fields, I can copy this div, right? So ideally, let me not have this label because I will use the placeholder to define my labels, right? So because it's a big form, right? So I will define labels with the help of placeholder. So this, what am I doing? So let this be the form group. I will say input type is text. Name is going to be, let's say, shop name. I do not need any ID as of now. Placeholder will be shop name and ng model is what? Shop name. Make sense? ng model is also shop name. So we have one form field set up. Oh, the shop name needs to be declared in here, right? Okay, are you happy now? Error is gone away. अब क्या हो गया? It says that expected 0 arguments but got one. Oh. Okay. So I'm sending one parameter from here, no? So I need to set up that parameter inside my TS file. Are you happy now? Yeah, looks like it is happy now. And as a part of Bootstrap, let me give this guy a class of form control. Yeah, so you can see it is spread across the screen now, right? So we are good. So in the same way, let's kind of go and add a couple of new fields, couple of more fields which will be required for the shop. So this was the shop name. So I need the field for the shop address. So I need the whole shop address. So I can take it from that get bootstrap circle. No. Here's my address, email, password. Email and password are already there. So address one, address two, city, state, zip, landmark. We can have a field for landmark. Check me out, not required, and then sign in, not required. So anyways, let me copy it. I will remove the unnecessary fields. So ideally, I do not need this form element, right? And I do not need this row for email and password. That is not required. Address is okay. Address 2 is also okay. And I do also do not need this sign in button, right? And I do not need this check me out thing. Zip, state, it will be a big drop down, right? So we are not supplying any values as of now. So this state, I will replace it with input type equal to text, right? This state, I will replace it with input type equal to text. So let me save it. Let me see what do I have. Yeah. So you are getting this address, city, state, and zip. So and let me remove these labels from here. I do not need these labels. In place of labels, I will have the placeholders, right? I will be using placeholders as my labels. So I do not need these labels. Just need placeholder is okay. So labels not required. Yeah, so our form is all ready. And now I need to focus on the services. So for the services, I will use text separated with comma separated values. So for the services, I would be using the comma separated values. So for that also, I will have input type equal to text. So let me format a document. Div, yeah, so it was this. So I've just copied form control. What did I do? I wanted to copy this line, this form group. So here I can say form group type equal text classical form control, and this is what ID services placeholder is business services. And business services separated by comma. Make sense? Did I save it? Yes. Let us see if it comes. So I have not yet set up ng model and all those things, right? So okay, that is set up over here only. So I will need to set up ng model and name attribute as well. So for this address one, ng model is address one, and for this ID I will replace it with name attribute, right? Okay, so we are just near the conclusion of our shop form as well. So I will need to kind of copy this and implement one more input field for services that will be services too. Right, and let's have one more thing for the text area, right? So rows will be 4, or let's say 8. Columns not required as of now. Let us see what do I get by default. Oops, what happened? Oh, I do not have all these variables, huh? Oh my god. I will need to kind of go and create them all one at a time. City, state, pin code, services 1, services 2. No, it should be okay. So ideally what I want is the bootstrap for text area. Hold on. Text area bootstrap 4. How do I implement text area in bootstrap? Here it is. Can you see? Forms may this for the I need it for text area. Yeah, here it is. Example text area. This is what I want exactly. So text area, here it is. So I can copy this as such, this div, and implement my description. I need to go to the add new shop HTML and over here paste that code which I got, no? So placeholder, I can say shop description. Let me see if it works. How does it look? Yeah, looks fine. I can remove that label from here and I can have the number of rows as 4, and ideally this ID I do not need. I have a name attribute and I can say description, and for the ng model, I can have what? Description. So ideally in next 5-6 minutes I should be done with this. So description is what I have. It's of type string. Right. So what else can I have in shop? I have had my address, services, description. I can add some photos, right? Um, so for that I can choose the file. I can have a file input type equal to file option, right? So if you go and take a look, I should be having it over here somewhere where it should allow me to input the file. Here it is. And can you see it will allow me to input the file. So I can copy this and paste it over here. So that will give me input type equal to file. Control will open the file input box. So ideally, I should be able to uh, input only image files, right? So I should not be able to input any other files. And even in image, I should be able to input only JPEG or PNG files, right? Not even GIF. That should not be possible. So what I need to do is let me remove this thing from here. Do I have the? How does it look like? So I can say short picture is what I have, and if I equal to file, so I will give it a name of shop picture and use ng model, right? So hold on, that is important. Shop picture. Let me copy this off. Make sense? Yeah, so it should allow me if I kind of go and if I go and test it right now, it will open the file input field with all the files, right? I can see all the files. Ideally, I should be able to see only image files, right? So I can use accept attribute over here and then plan the things accordingly. So accept attribute and, and for that I can say image xpng is what I am going to accept. Image xjpg is what I'm going to accept. I'm not going to accept even GIF, so that too should be fine. So let us see if it works. If it works, we should be done with this form. So let me try. Yeah, so only I have all these all files also, but PNG is available by default. So I can select only PNG if I go inside. I cannot select anything else, right? Until unless I go to the folder which contains a PNG. But what about JPG? Why is JPEG not coming? Okay, looks like now. Okay. Now if I click on choose once again, okay, now it is okay. So both PNG and JPG are coming, right? So both will work fine. So this is what I wanted. Ideally, I should be able to select only JPG or PNG. So let us kind of go and work with this form now, right? Let's submit this form, right? So, okay. So down there, I can have input type equal to submit, right? So maybe input submit value is, let's say, add shop. So when I will be clicking on this submit, ideally, what will happen? When I will click on this submit, this function will be executed. I will be getting this value inside this function. So let us say CLG, that is dump value of shop, whatever we receive now, let us dump it. So if I go back to my page, open the Google Chrome Developer Tools, I already have this add shop thing over here, right? So if I click on it, go to the console. If I click on it, clear the console. I click on it, nothing happens. Why? Why, bhaiya? Why nothing happens? Okay, it is coming. You can see. Right? So ideally, I had said input type equal to submit. Note that it will look for action attribute. But now here, since I have a button, so I'm getting all those blank values. Why blank? Because I have not submitted any data. Fine. So let us have two buttons over here. One is add shop, one is reset shop, right? So reset will blank the complete form. So I want to have two buttons over here. So I will implement a form row. And in the form row, I will implement the button, right? So that is one button. And this is just empty space. And that's the one more button. Right, so I want to have this add shop button a big one, or maybe so I can go over here, take a look at the kind of buttons I have. So success button I would want to use to add a new shop, right? So success is BTN success, and I would want to use the block level button, right, for the success. So let me copy this. Ideally, I would want to get this class only. Is that okay now? Let us go and see what do we get. Yeah, we got this big button for adding a new shop, and I would need a small button for the reset. So reset will be more or less like a grade button, right? So that would be a secondary button. Ideally, it will be this kind of button, right? So gray button, or maybe um, yeah, gray should be okay. Secondary button, and it is also a block level button. Is my project saved? Yes, it is completely saved. And it is recompiling. Okay, it is in the middle of recompiling. Yeah, we got these two buttons up here. So I can reduce it to call MD1. So maybe I can make it call MD6 or maybe 8, 1, 9, and 3. Right? So let us see how it looks now. So ideally, add shop button will be the bigger one, and the reset button will be the smaller one. Right? So that is the way it looks. And when I click on this add shop, ideally shop is a JSON object with all the shop data is created, which I can send to the shop service, right? So let us quickly kind of go ahead and do that. But ideally, I would be willing to add this shop only for the user who is of type shop, right? So who is a type of type shop owner, right? When I go to the home, when I add a new user, so who is a of type shop owner, the once he is logged in, only that user will be able to add a new shop. So ideally, I would be having a user ID, right? Since I would be working with the session, so I would be having the handhold of user ID, shop user ID, right? So ideally, I would be doing adding this shop for that user ID. So that will be one more field which I will need to add to this shop. So hold on, let me make it read only. So here, mm, I would want to have one more form input type equal to text, which will be pre-filled, with the shop owner name, right? It will be pre-filled. Why? Because the user is already logged in as a shop owner. So it will not have any kind of placeholder, and it will be read only, right? I will not be able to edit it. So it will contain the value of a shop owner, which will come from the person who is logged in as a shop owner, right? Ideally, it will be an ID or something like that, right? So it will be a read-only value. So let me go to this TS file and add what? Shop owner of type string. It will either be the shop owner name or a string, right? So let me say shop owner. It will be pre-filled by default, so we can work on it once we are done with the JWT and session and user authentication and all those things, right? So if you go and take a look now to your form, we should be having a proper thing. Hold on, what is happening? We missed out on something. Oh, this looks like it is extra. Now is it okay? No, not yet. I'm missing out on something. So this div opened over here. It's closing over here. Huh? Why? Oh, sorry. Now okay. Yeah, now form is okay. Ideally, I did some typo mistake. Okay, so form looks okay now. So now I can add a new shop, right? So hold on, it's 12:13. I can add a new shop. So, but before I am able to add a new shop, I need to kind of go and implement a service, right? So I will go back to my code editor uh, and implement a new service. So ideally, if you remember, we already have the registration service, right? So in the same way, I will need to have a shop add shop service as well, right? So I will go back to the command prompt also, wherein I can add a new service. Not this one. I need to have a different. I had a different command prompt which was open. So here it is. So it will be inside shop, inside service folder, uh, add shop service, or maybe I can call it shop service, right? Shop service. Why? Because here all the shop related activities will happen, right? So shop service is created as you can see. Um, okay, so I can go in here and create a variable in the same lines as this is. So let me copy this code from here and paste it over here. So this is going to be shop REST API. Ideally, it is running at http localhost 3000/shop, right? Shop, isn't it? So if you go and take a look at the form, so here if you see, we have this slash shop, right? So it is all about add shop, and it will receive a shop, and I will return what this dot http dot post this dot. Hey, where am I doing it? I was doing it in the uh, I was doing it in the registration service. I need to do it in the shop service. So okay, so this dot http dot post. So I also need inside a constructor. I need to inject that HTTP client service, right? Okay, done. And HTTP client needs to be auto imported. HTTP client, right? So it is auto imported as you can see. And what it will be this dot shop REST API, and to that I will send a shop, and I will change the name of the function as well, which will be what? Add new shop. Makes sense. So now I can inject this shop service where inside my add new shop component and consuming. So private uh, shop service of type shop service, right? You can see it is being auto imported, right? So now I can use this here. So I can say this dot shop service dot add new shop, and to that I will add this, send this shop. Sorry, what did I do? To that I will send this shop, right? And then I will work with subscribe. So subscribe will have two parameters to work with. depending on whether the scenario is successful or failure. So if it is successful, I will receive the response, right? I can work with the response, and if it is error, I will receive the error. I can work with the error. So ideally, if it is a successful, then I can maybe be in the same page, or maybe redirect to the page which will have display a add shop success. If it is error, then I can redirect to the page which will say there was error in adding the shop in that way, right? And it can display some kind of error code. And if it is successful, I can redirect to the page which will display there was you can say the shop addition was successful. But as of now, let us just console.log whatever be the response, right? We are not redirecting to any page as of now. We have a less time now. CLG, whatever be the error. We can do it in the next session. Okay, let us see if we are able to add the shop or not. So shop owner is not editable. Shop name is what I have. Let's say stack tailors. I already have it. Um, let's have it as Pandian Street. Um, let's have it as 4 by 4 Globe Towers, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Um, stitching, ride, bridal wear. Second services is, let's say, suite, sub description, 100 years in stitch in bridal stitching business, right? And shop picture, let's ignore that part for now. If you want to select a shop picture, that's fine. Let us select it. Let's say copper says triangular. Let's select this shop picture, right? And let's click on. Hold on. I will inspect. Go to the console. Clear the console. Click on add shop. Yeah, so we got it both. That means a failed to post message. A window object could not be found. I think it should not be related to what I have done. I failed to execute post message on window. So I can go back here, reload the page, see if it is available. Yeah, it is available, right? So you can see fake path, whatever be the fake path, and then image name is available. So ideally, I should find a way to upload an image from my local file system to the server, right? Number one, in certain folder, and here I can set up that path to that folder on the server, right? So ideally, you can see the shop is added. So if I also go and take a look at our file, the file which we added, right? That JSON file, where is it? We have all this data in here. So ideally, here this rather than the shop owner, I would either be having a shop owner ID, right? So like kind of for the visitor who is of type shop owner, for that ID is 3, right? For here I would be having more or less a shop owner ID or something like that. Right, so that is all for today. I suppose we are successfully able to add a new shop and register a user, right? So on when we meet again, what we will do is we will attempt, depending on the time which we have, because next session will be our last session, right? So depending on the time which we will be having, we will be doing the adding a shop, um, work with the images also, and display the list of shops in all shops, right? And from all shops, I will be going to the shop detail right? And all the shop detail, we will be working with the comments also, right? And I should be able to send a message to the shop. A user visitor should be able to send a message to the shop owner. But before that, we will need to work with authentication, right? So ideally, what happens is only if I am of type shop owner, I should be able to see the form that is add new shop. Let us see how much time we have in the next session and work on it, right? So next, now it would be very kind of distributed work. So if I'm not able to complete this whole application in next 2 hours, that is coming Friday, then I will finish it off on the weekend. At the same time, also record my screen and publish it on YouTube, right? So ideally, you will have the complete application on YouTube, right? In the same playlist which I had been updating. So for today's activity and for the day before yesterday's activity, I would be publishing it tonight, so you can have it tomorrow morning. And for the activity which we are not able to do in next 2 hours, that is on Friday, I would be recording it and publishing it over a weekend, so you can have it by Monday or so, or Tuesday or something like that, right? So that is going to be the plan. So any queries, feel free to ask, or else we can wrap up. I'm done for the day. I will quickly go and commit it on GitHub. So that is what we have done. Okay, then looks like there are no queries. We can see you day after tomorrow, right? See you on Friday. Okay, so I have committed the code on the repo, right? Okay, then bye. See you all day after tomorrow.